Sometimes we get to do early reporting on Meidas and Legal AF about lawsuits that are about to be filed. And Donald Trump thinks he can outfox and outsmart a Miami federal judge, Judge Williams, about his IRS phony settlement. I said last week that Donald Trump was going to try to keep that $10 billion lawsuit against his own IRS because there was a leaker that leaked his tax returns. He was going to try to keep that case alive to give him an excuse to enter into a settlement and then claim that the lawsuit would be exchanged for the money and that's okay, right? No. Because otherwise it looks like a complete theft of the Treasury by Donald Trump. And now we've got new reporting that Donald Trump is going to try to settle the lawsuit before Judge Williams makes her decision as to whether the lawsuit is valid or not. Because Judge Williams is right now considering whether the lawsuit is a invalid bad faith filing because there's no adverse party involved. See, Trump is on one side and Trump is on the other because the other side is the Treasury Department and the Internal Revenue Service. And if he dominates and controls it, then it's called a collusive lawsuit or a cooperative lawsuit where there's no adversary party, just Trump v. Trump, right? And not a divorce. And so Judge Williams basically said, I don't think I have jurisdiction over this. I don't think this lawsuit can be maintained jurisdictionally in a courthouse. And so she asked for help. She told the Department of Justice, the Internal Revenue Service, and Donald Trump to file briefs by the 20th of May about whether this is a adversarial case at all. But at the same time, she ordered that 3 different experts, a former federal judge, John Gleeson, a former federal or a Department of Justice Solicitor General in Don Verrilli, and Faith Gay, a fantastic trial lawyer out of New York, get together and write a brief, an amici brief, an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief to guide Judge Williams about whether there was an adversarial proceeding when Trump sues his own controlled and dominated agency. And that brief just came in the last 24 hours. And while it didn't say that the suit was in bad faith filed, it gave the judge the tools to make that decision. And now there's a mad scramble reported by ABC News to settle the case, settle an invalid case before Judge Williams can rule. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF and MeidasTouch. Let's get to the bottom of it all. Donald Trump is trying to steal from the Treasury and from you and me money that belongs to the American taxpayer. Now he's saying he's going to trade his $10 billion phony claim for a $1.7 billion victim compensation fund administered by a commission of his own choosing that he controls, handing out money that's not his money, that the IRS should be remitting to the Treasury of the United States. Our money paid in revenue collection, now being diverted, money laundered, misappropriated over to a commission and controlled by Donald Trump to hand out to his cronies and allies, including 1,200 or more Jan 6th insurrectionists. Does that get your blood boiling? Well, let me talk to you about the lawsuits that are going to be spawned from this too smart by half approach. Because if you think it sounds like it's unconstitutional, it is. If you think it sounds like a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act, it is. If you think it sounds like it's ultra vires outside the power and control and authority of the president, it is. And so he can make the announcement that he's making the settlement. He can try to argue that Judge Williams doesn't have to worry about her jurisdiction any longer because they have divested her of jurisdiction by settling the case Trump v. IRS, Trump v. Trump. Although put a pin in that, I'm not sure Judge Williams is quite done. They were obviously scared by the analysis of the amici brief, which said to Judge Williams, I don't think there's a case here. And if there's no case that can be properly traded in a settlement, in a consideration exchange, then it's just highway robbery. It's just a Brinks robbery. Donald Trump raiding Fort Knox Now he says, but don't worry, everybody. I won't be taking anything from the reported settlement terms. Donald J. Trump won't be getting any part of that compensation fund. But he doesn't say anything about the Trump Organization or Eric Trump or Don Jr. or Melania or any of his entities, 17, 20 of them that are listed in the tax returns that a leaker not related to Joe Biden leaked to the ProPublica and the New York Times. And they're saying this is all under the weaponization of the Department of Justice Committee and a commission. That this is to pay back the American people because Joe Biden weaponized the Department of Justice. In what way? You want to see weaponization of the Department of Justice? You're watching it right now with the capture of the Department of Justice. This is, under Donald Trump as the chief law enforcement officer, the most corrupt Department of Justice in history. Write it down, seal it in a time capsule. It'll be written that way by history books, I assure you, along with the FBI, along with the White House counsel's office. And the leadership of the Department of Justice should be ashamed of themselves for being complicit in the destruction or attempted destruction of the rule of law and the degradation of the Department of Justice. So there's going to be lawsuits coming, people. I hear them. I feel them. I don't know if it's Democracy Forward. I don't know if it's American Civil Liberties Union. I don't know if it's the attorneys general. I don't know if it's Democracy Docket or Norm Eisen, but there are going to be lawsuits very soon as the settlement is announced, if not before, in order to argue that this is a violation of the Constitution, that Donald Trump or no president as the executive branch has the power to create a commission to distribute money that that doesn't belong to them. I realized my morning routine was basically just survival mode. Alarm, coffee, panic, repeat. So I started paying more attention to what I was actually putting in my body every day. And coffee was the one thing I never questioned. That's why I started trying mud water. Their original blend combines cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms for a more focused, steady boost without the jitters or crash. And if you still love coffee, their new low-caf blend has only 45 milligrams of caffeine, so you still feel like you get the rich coffee flavor without feeling totally wired. Ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off starter kits, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code LEGALAF. That's right. Up to 43% off with code LEGALAF at MUDWTR.com. And after the purchase, they'll ask you how you found them. Please show your support and let them know we sent you. Only Congress controls the purse strings, and you can't divert money without congressional authority from the Treasury to your controlled piggy bank, slush fund, to be used to compensate MAGA and no one else. And so you're going to see a suit that says that this violates Article 2 of the Constitution. It's not a power enumerated for the presidency. That it violates the separation of powers, and therefore Article 1, Congress controls the purse strings. That it violates the Administrative Procedures Act, because it's not being executed logistically the way the APA says it should be. That it violates ultra vires. It violates the powers of the presidency because it's outside their powers. And to stop it. And that's going to tie up this victim compensation fund up in knots as Donald Trump folds again, says, no, I won't go for the $10 billion. I'll drop it down to $1.7 billion and only my family will dip their beaks into it. No. That's where the lawsuits come in. Now, what will happen with Judge Williams, who I know well in Miami? I practiced in front of her for a number of years. She's a phenomenal judge. She was the federal public defender for decades before she became a federal judge. I don't think she's done. I think she thinks she's been used by the Trump administration to create the appearance of a phony lawsuit for a phony transaction that she now no longer has any role in. But she can hold the lawyers accountable, including those from the Internal Revenue Service who signed the pleadings. She can hold the Internal Revenue Service accountable and the parties because she's been had or attempted to be had by the Trump administration. And federal judges, I'll tell you one thing I've learned in 35 years of practicing in front of them, they don't like to be used. They don't like to be a pawn in somebody else's conspiracy. So look for Judge Williams to be calling a status conference right quick as soon as the settlement is announced and they attempt to dismiss the case. And she's not going to sign that order of dismissal until she has her conference and she does her fact-finding about what just happened and what she just watched. And we encourage her to do that here on MeidasTouch and on Legal AF. So in the meantime, we're going to follow this fast-moving story closely. Come over to Legal AF YouTube channel. We just had another click of the odometer. We're now up to 1,120,000 subscribers, on our way to 1.2 million in the month of May. If you think you're a subscriber, you're probably not. I don't think you are. We get 40 million views a month of our work. We have 1 million people who have subscribed for free. Do the math. Help us out. Hit the free subscribe button there. Come over to Legal AF Substack and hit the subscribe and paid button and become a supporting member of Legal AF. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.